Hi, I'm Jess.
Cool. You were going to say more than that. So we can talk a little bit about our sisterhood and how much of a work
roller coaster.
a work in progress that has been, the highs, the lows. Sister series.
Hashtag sisters.
Welcome to Holistic Wellness and Lifestyle, Formed for It. I'm Jen Lowe, and here is where we grow. I'm excited to have my one and only little sister with me. Say your name.
Hi, I'm Jess.
Cool. You were going to say more than that. And where are you located?
I am located in Bavaria, Germany. So we are a military family. We're stationed overseas currently.
And before you guys left for Germany, you were in where?
We were in Fort Drum, New York. So upstate New York, like 30 minutes below Canada. Very, very far upstate.
And how long were you there for?
Mike was there 3 years. I was there just one after we got married.
Well, that segues into us talking about relationships and family relationships and maintaining relationships via international and during COVID, and how relationships change over time. And so we can talk a little bit about our sisterhood and how much of a work
roller coaster
a work in progress that has been, the highs, the lows. And this is our first segment of our sister series. We can start with sisterhood. What did you mean by the roller coaster comment?
Oh, gosh. I think we all know.
It could either be very triggering and end in a fight, or
I feel like anyone that knows us know that we have a history of just not always getting along. I don't really know what the turning point was for us. I feel like we were good when I was a baby.
I loved when you didn't talk and you didn't take my toys, and I could just nurture you like a little doll.
And then I feel like once I got into first grade and you were in fifth and we were at the same school, that's when the dynamic started changing.
Okay, the reason why I was upset with you, mainly in elementary school.
The whole background.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So that's when it started getting rocky, because I would bother you on the playground and I would chase you and your friends around, and I was the annoying little sister, and I just wanted to hang out with you because I thought you and your friends were so cool and you wanted nothing to do with me. Then we go through middle school and we're not at the same school. High school is when I feel like that's when we got really close, because I was a freshman, you were a senior, but because I was more mature than I was in first grade, I wasn't as embarrassing to be around. So you were like the cool senior that took me under your wing and introduced me to all your cool senior friends. And I was that freshman that had all the older friends. That was really cool.
Yeah.
And then it started going downhill when you left for college, just because the dynamic of you moving out and being so far away and having the time difference and only visiting once or twice a year, it just put a lot of strain on our relationship. And
strain, we weren't really fighting. Like, things were good when I would go home and visit. We just weren't necessarily connected.
Yeah.
See, this is good. We have different ideas. But like when you were, I remember when I was a senior in college, you came out and visited me and Al and lived with us for a week. That was a good week.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. Maybe it just started changing once we lived together again. Once I moved out to Washington.
That's the bad chapter. Yeah. Yeah. We cannot live together again. No. We're very different personalities.
But I will say, I was like just freshly 21. I had like a crappy all over the place job schedule, and like it was kind of my first time really living on my own. Yeah. So like you were kind of my first roommate. So I didn't really, I'm much better now.
Yes. And we had different idea. And maybe I wasn't the best communicator either of what it took to be successful, to be roommates in a healthy household.
Yeah, I feel like we didn't really have a conversation prior to me moving in. It was just like, hey, you want to live with me? And I was like, yes, let me get out of Michigan and come stay with you. And
That's
it was just kind of, there was no, how Mike would say, there was no expectation management.
Oh, that's a good phrase. I'm going to use that one. Okay. So yeah, so probably the and I fully take accountability that I was a mean big sister. Like, I don't know what it was. Physical too. We were like little brothers. Like, you know how boy, and not to like female, like gender stereotype, but like, I don't think people know, like boys are usually more physically aggressive, like sibling wise. And then females are more like, we had the few different things of like, you stole my dress and you didn't ask. And I was cool. And like, these are my friends, not your friends. But like, we brawled. Like, yeah, we got physical.
Yeah. I remember that frying pan that had a dent in it. And you had like a purple glass bottle that you smacked me in the shoulder with. You almost pushed me out the second story window.
Oh, you pushed me out?
No. No. You almost pushed me out because we were fighting over the temperature of the AC window unit. So, I don't remember what our fights were about, but they're stupid.
So we lived together. That was awful. We both I was in a relationship. You were kind of doing your own thing in Tacoma, working lots, having roommates. So now you're in Germany. So how would you say our relationship is now?
The last couple of years, I feel like things between us have been very tense because I felt this sense of, this is just my perception. I just felt like there was a lot of jealousy on your end from the way that my life was going and the way that your life was going. Just like in the sense of, you're eldest, so you should have been the one to, have babies first. And you didn't get the wedding that you wanted originally. And so I just felt like there was some jealousy just because our journeys look different. But I also think, to the flip side of that, I do think that Max has brought us closer because she's like that common denominator. And you obviously want to have a good relationship with her. And I want you to have a good relationship with her. And so there's definitely been more of an effort on our parts to be more understanding so that that relationship doesn't get skewed. And I think that has been really helpful. I've noticed a big difference in just the way that we've been communicating recently and just the effort that's been there that hasn't always been there.
That's what I was going to say. I agree. I feel like, so the sisterhood piece, but then me becoming an aunt and like wanting to maintain. And I feel like the little stupid small stuff aren't as big of a deal, or I don't know if it's a control thing that like, if I can get mad about this and cut you out for 6 months, like, I feel like we haven't necessarily done that. And I guess it puts relationships into perspective and priority. And then we're also, as we're older, like knowing what's important, what's not, and then what our trigger topics are of like, we're not going to bring this up if we know this is a trigger, and how we go about like talking. See, I was cool with the jealousy thing.
Yeah.
I think on the flip side,
well, here we go.
Well, it's different because there is that expectation of being the oldest and like setting the example. And then as adults, that goes out the window because who cares? You're each individual is living your own life, not in that family unit anymore. Yeah, it's just been different that we've had different paths. Because I feel like, my life blew up with my ex, and I really focused on that 4-year degree and my education, and then getting my master's, and like very career focused. And then like it's been cool to see you have that family focus, and I wasn't ready necessarily for that family focus and the time of life that I was on. So it's like this jealousy or not even jealousy. Yeah, I don't know. That eager and longing to want that. And for myself,
I feel like not that you want what you can't have, because that's not That's not what I mean. But like, I am envious of the fact that you have finished your degree and you are well established in your career. I don't have that. That's something that I'm still working on. And that's been put on hold since we live out here because it's not really doable for me to continue my education overseas. So that's something that I would have loved to accomplish before I had kids because it just would have been easier. And now I'm in this weird stage of like, okay, well, when is the right time to go back to school? And, do we knock out all of our kids one after another so that, it's a long break and then I can be done and back? Or like, do I try to work it in between? Or so I'm envious of the fact that I don't want to say you did life right and you followed the steps because, there's a lot of societal pressure of like following a specific timeline and doing things in a certain order. And it's okay if life, your life doesn't follow that path. But I do think that it would be easier. I don't know. I'm envious that you have, you're well established in your career and you've built it over the last 10 plus years of your experience and you have credentials, and finding a job is never going to be difficult for you. But for me, when we go back to the States, I don't have anything but experience waitressing and being a bartender and a barista. Like that's, as almost a 30-year-old, like that sucks. It is what it is. It's not that school can't be finished. It's just my path took me elsewhere and it's going to be more difficult.
Well, it also, you've kind of had that zigzag navigation of life for careers too, figuring out, like, I feel like when you were young, you didn't necessarily know what you wanted to do and what you wanted to be. And like, I had a clear idea in like fourth grade, like I want to do this. And like, that was my set path. But then on the flip side, like reframing that, there are people that have been in a career for 5, 10, 15 years and absolutely hate it. And then they're 40 years old and they're quitting their jobs and going back to school. And so, yeah, I think there's something to be said that, you took different routes to figure out what you did and didn't want to do until you figured out like, oh, this is my calling. This is my passion. That's what I want to put money in and invest in education to be able to do instead of the wrong things.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, we will focus on segment 2 whenever that time comes.